For a very long time, I've been telling you guys that this new media space, even though people like to suck themselves off in this space and pretend like they're special and pretend like they're truth tellers and pretend like they're not subject to the same downsides as mainstream media, I've been warning you that this space is just absolutely packed to the brim with con men and grifters and careerists and self-aggrandizers and scammers and people who are willing to sell out to the same advertisers and corporations that buy mainstream media. And today was a real crossing the Rubicon moment, because one of the biggest brosphere podcasts is the Nelk Boys, the Full Send podcast. And, these are those podcasts that, just like the same Rogan ethos of who, me, bro? I'm just shooting the shit with whoever I have on. No big deal. It's whatever. We're just bros hanging out. We don't even claim to be experts. We just talk about stuff and let the chips fall where they may. Well, apparently today, these assholes decided to release a podcast. You ready for this? With Benjamin Netanyahu. So the brosphere, podcast people decided, let's bring on an indicted war criminal who's currently in the midst of doing a genocide. As we speak, Palestinians are dropping dead from being starved to death by the IDF. Every day, you have Palestinians going to fake humanitarian aid sites, and then the IDF opens fire on them and murders about 100 of them every single day. It is a live-streamed Holocaust in real time, and these fucking idiots decided, let's bring on the leader of the genocide, the person who's steering the ship, and let's, shoot the shit with him. So this thing is infuriating from beginning to end, y'all. I turned it on, and, they start with, we're kind of in over our heads here, bro. But also, we're kind of journalists, you know what I'm saying? Aren't we, sort of journalists? Yeah, now, we don't really, know what we're talking about, but, we'll have both sides on of the issue to talk about. And it's you know what? It is time to grow out of this bullshit mentality. This idea that, hey, why would you draw any lines? Drawing lines is weird and whack, bro. And it's no, sometimes lines make sense, right? Would you want to hear both sides of the debate when it comes to a serial killer? How about a child rapist? How about a jihadist? How about a liar? How about somebody a friend who betrayed you and wronged you and stole money from you? How about a violent, paranoid schizophrenic? Would you want to shoot the shit with somebody like that on the pod? Would you want to shoot the shit with a cult leader who directly led to the deaths of dozens of innocent people? Is that something you'd be in favor of doing? And so there's this in the online new media brosphere podcast world, there's this really disgusting moral relativism and laziness. The moral relativism is the insistence that well, there's two sides to everything, bro. Let's just hear them out, bro. And the laziness is taking an interview that if you're going to do it, it has to be holding Netanyahu accountable, holding his feet to the fire, doing an aggressive fact-checking interview, really cutting through the bullshit and exposing this man for what it is. And of course, there's none of that. It's pure moral relativism garbage, and it's pure, let him set the narrative, let him make his arguments, and we'll sit here giggling like fucking schoolgirls and pretending like he has a point. And, I mean, this is let's call it what it is. This is the equivalent of shooting the shit with modern-day Adolf Hitler. That's what it is. That's what this man's record is. That's how he's going to go down in history. And the fact that they were too fucking stupid to realize it, it just shows, this place is a cesspool. Online media, new media is a fucking cesspool. You have so many people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They have way too much power, way too much sway. They're way in over their heads. And now they're being used by genocidal war criminals to launder their reputation. That's what we're witnessing. So the good news, though, is this. That if you scroll down, I should tell you what was happening in the podcast first. So Netanyahu comes in, I swear to God, right from the beginning, suck off Trump. Clearly Netanyahu comes in with a strategy here. The strategy is, I know the bro podcast sphere, I know they love Trump, so what if I just come in hot and start sucking off Trump from the beginning? Oh, he's so special. Oh, he's so amazing. Oh, he's such a straight shooter. Oh, he's so great. Knowing exactly how to try to appeal to these fucking idiots. So there's that. Anytime there was a serious question asked, it wasn't really serious because they would let Netanyahu lie to their faces and continue. Why do people say that, you're starving people in Gaza, bro? Why do people say that? He's like, I'm not. And it's okay, all right, let's move on. So the whole podcast, it was a joke. The fucking thing was a colossal joke. It was disgusting. It literally shooting the shit with Adolf Hitler. That's what we're looking at. But the good news is, literally everybody in the replies is like, fuck you, I'm done with you, you're a joke, this is pathetic. So we have, here, I'll read some for you. Somebody says, this was pitched to Netanyahu like this. Don't worry, these guys are idiots. You can use their platform to push whatever propaganda you want, and they won't push back on anything. Somebody said, I miss when YouTube used to show dislikes, because, of course, this thing is going to be downvoted to the high heavens. Somebody says, you guys didn't question him once. This is crazy. Guy should be in front of the International Court of Justice for Crimes Against Humanity, but instead he's on a Nelk podcast. What are we doing? Looking at all these comments, I'm glad we're all on the same page. Reputation takes years to build and just seconds to ruin. Zero pushback. You literally just let a war criminal talk freely for an hour to millions of fans. Just horrible. You guys are truly horrible. One of the 21st century's biggest monsters, and he's not even seriously challenged on a single assertion or statement. I could not be more disappointed in a content creator with a large platform. Sold out so hard, I remember when you guys had 40K subs and were doing pranks, but now we're interviewing war criminals. I've never actually unsubscribed from a YouTube account until today. This dude has been saying Iran is going to have an atomic bomb within a year for 30 fucking years. They let him get away with some bullshit, saying some bullshit like that. This guy was starving children while he sat in front of you. Every single comment is like, fuck you, fuck the horse you rode it on, you're shooting the shit with modern-day Adolf Hitler, and these fucking jackasses were too stupid to realize what they were doing. So I'm just so sick of the disconnect between the new media world and the brosphere podcast world and the real world. Because there is such a fucking disconnect between those things. This is a great example of it right here. Not understanding how serious this is to talk to a guy like this who's an indicted war criminal who should be locked up for the rest of his life. All the spin coming out of the brosphere podcast world when it comes to Trump and Epstein, where they can't just accept that Trump is in the Epstein files. They can't just accept there's evidence piled as high as Mount Everest that he's done disgusting things with children, that he was involved in international human sex trafficking. They can't acknowledge that, so what do? They go out there, people like Tim Dillon, people like Alex Jones, all these assholes. Oh, Trump can't release the Epstein files because he's afraid that they're going to kill him if he does. Who? Who's they? He picked the entire fucking deep state. It's his administration, asshole. What the fuck are you talking about? You got one of the versions of Cope is the Democrats, this is what Alex Jones said. The Democrats have, they doctored the files, and Trump's out there saying, Obama wrote the files, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, they wrote the files. And you have Alex Jones going, that's right, they tampered with the files and they made Trump look bad even though it's all fake stuff. So what I can't stand anymore is this disconnect between what happens in the real world and the fact that people aren't getting the straight stories about what's happening in the real world and what happens in like this right-wing bro podcast land where these idiots are so disconnected from, the implications of their actions, right? Like trying to humanize and justify a war criminal who does war crimes on a daily fucking basis. I mean, literally this week, this asshole Netanyahu bombed Damascus in Syria, the capital of Syria, to get out of his corruption trial, and that worked. He got out of it. And then the next day he had the same trial, and he goes, oh, I have food poisoning, so you need to postpone the trial till fucking September. And they go, okay. Like, are any of these things going to fucking come up? Are you going to hold this guy accountable for fucking anything? This man who's desperately trying to start World War III, desperately trying to create a greater Israel, and he's shooting the shit on podcasts with these idiots who openly admit, I don't really know anything. I didn't study. I don't know the first thing about this fucking issue. Like, I'm just like looking to have conversations about ideas, bro. Sitting there, I think we're kind of like journalists now. No, you're fucking not. No, you're fucking not. You're a bunch of douchebags who don't know what the fuck you're doing and who are steering this country in the wrong fucking direction. But again, thank God, bro. At least if the comments weren't brutal, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. I would be fucking furious. But at least since the comments are brutal, it lets me know that, like, all right, well, their audience is paying a lot more attention than they are, right? And they have more of a moral core than they do. And so I want to reiterate this point one more time because it's been a long time now that there's been this ethos in new media and in the, the brosphere podcast land. And the ethos is like, bro, I'm like a real man. So like, whatever, but like, I'll have conversations with anybody about anything, bro. No holds barred, bro. Free speech, bro. That's what I'll do, bro. Like, this is their whole shtick. This is how they suck themselves off and pretend like they're brave. I'll talk to anybody about anything, bro. And I'll get both sides of the story, bro. And they think that's like, you're so cool. You're willing to, like, talk to anybody about anything. Why can't people just have conversations? Let's have conversations about having conversations, man. Like, this is what they do, right? But I want to reiterate this point because it's super important. Do you want to talk? Do you want to shoot the shit and have, like, a nice positive experience with a serial killer who killed 12 people? Do you want to humanize that person? Do you want to shoot the shit with them? How about somebody who's a skinhead Nazi with a giant swastika tattoo who brags about killing minorities? Do you want to shoot the shit with that person and hear their side of the story and try to humanize them? How about a child rapist? You want to hear both sides of the child rapist debate? How about an Al-Qaeda or ISIS jihadist that's openly in favor of bombing, innocent people in schools? How about that? Bombing little kids. How about, I don't know, tankies and Stalin defenders or just outright liars or violent paranoid schizophrenics or a cult leader or somebody you know in your own life who betrayed you, who wronged you, who stole money from you, who tried to fuck your girlfriend or whatever the fuck. Like, there are sometimes you need to draw lines in this world. Let's stop. I don't even have any lines, bro, because I'm a fucking idiot that doesn't have a functioning brain. Sometimes there are lines in this world. One of those lines is, don't suck off a war criminal who's starving people right this very second on your shitty fucking podcast. Okay? So this needs to be, I hope everybody's listening to me, this needs to be the beginning of the end, the downfall of new media and the bro podcast sphere. It's gotta go. All of the fucking, the influence they have. Now understand something, I'm not a fan of mainstream media. I criticize mainstream media today. I'm gonna criticize mainstream media tomorrow. Look at what's happening with CBS and how they're stabbing Colbert in the back, to try to appease Trump. There's a million things I can say. They pushed us into war, etc. But let's not pretend like new media is better. They are not in any way, shape, or form better. It's a bunch of idiots in way over their heads. If you wanted to have on Benjamin Netanyahu, okay, it would be a different story if you had him on and you genuinely held his feet to the fire. Nobody wants to have, it's not fun to do an adversarial interview. I've done them. It is not fun to do it. Crystal just made this point to me. Did we have fun when we fucking were disagreeing with Cenk about a very important issue about how to be a leftist and how to approach MAGA? You think that was fun? You think it's fun when you have to, in order to be ready for an interview like that, you have to do an immense amount of preparation. Write out your arguments. Write out the facts of the situation. Make sure you deliver them to the audience. It would be one thing if they did this interview and they held him accountable. Like if I interviewed, or Crystal interviewed, or Hassan Piker, or anybody interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu, it would have been a different fucking story. But they take this responsibility that you have, being a public figure with this platform, and they just fucking swat it aside and say, I don't give a fuck, I'm not going to learn anything, I don't care, I'm going to go in there and shoot the shit with a war criminal. And at one point they literally say, listen to this, they literally say, oh, I'm happy we're talking to Netanyahu because we'll get educated on the topic. I mean, I'm literally out of words. Like, I don't know how to respond to that. That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. So let this be the beginning of the end. I mean, I really do think the beginning of the end of the new media obsession and the bro podcast sphere obsession, I really think it was when Rogan and his, little sycophantic right-wing comedians decided to go full MAGA and decided to, like, suck off the administration and literally endorse the administration and run cover for them. I think that was, like, the beginning of the end of this, like, new media bubble popping. But now it can't come fast enough. Because, again, the thing I can't get out of my head is, like, I'm literally covering stories now all the time and seeing on my social media feed all the time, another 20 children just died from starvation in Gaza because the IDF and Netanyahu are starving these people to death and not allowing in aid. Another 100 just got gunned down and murdered while trying to get flour to feed their families, right? They're not allowing in food. They're not allowing in medicine. They're attacking hospitals and schools. And like every negative, I'm seeing that all the fucking time. And then imagine my shock at the same time, we're on a daily basis. Why are more people not talking about this? Why is this not the biggest story in the world? At the same time, these bro podcast sphere assholes are giving a hand job live to Benjamin Netanyahu and treating him like he's special, treating him like he has some insight, treating him like he's just another one of the bros, bro, just shooting the shit. And that disconnect between the real world and this nihilistic, moral, relativistic, bullshit bro world, it's got to end, bro. It's got to end. They got to wrap it up. They got to lose power. They got to lose influence. I hope they fucking hemorrhage all their fucking subscribers. This is a fucking cesspool that we're living in. They make CNN look like brilliant geniuses. And, like, give me Christian Amanpour interviewing fucking Benjamin Netanyahu over these assholes fucking any day of the week, dog. Any day of the week. But that's how you know you're pathetic. when you make the mainstream media losers who suck in their own special way seem way better than you will ever, ever, ever be. And now they're trying to clean up the mess. They went on Hassan Piker's stream. Adam Friedland's on the stream. Hassan's on the stream. The Nelk boys are on the stream. And they're trying to be like, bro, it's whatever. Like, we're going to have somebody with, like, the opposite view come on the next day. And, like, so that's, you know, it's totally cool, bro. Again, just imagine this in fucking 1940s. Yeah, okay, sure, we talked to Goebbels. Sure, we talked to Himmler. Sure, we talked to Adolf Hitler. But, you know, we'll have on, like, Stalin next week, bro. We'll have maybe we'll have on, like, FDR. It's whatever. Like, we're just hashing out ideas, bro. It's just, I can't with these people. I can't with these people. Like, Adam Friedland made a great point. He said this directly to the Nelk boys' face. Some things just aren't content. Some things aren't content. Yeah, maybe don't try to, like, you know, make some video clips off the guy who's literally starving babies to death right this second, right? Maybe don't shoot the shit with a wanted war criminal, genocidal war criminal. So, yeah, just, I can't stand it, the immorality. I mean, you could even just call it amorality, because there's nothing at the core of these people. They're just vapid. They're just vapid fucking clout chasers, right? But the amorality or immorality, the fucking moral relativism, the nihilism of it, it just reeks of fucking this, like, the death of values, right? The death of integrity, the death of values, the death of anything actually mattering outside of the content. And I hope this is a fucking stark wake-up call to these assholes. That day of, like, bro, I'll talk to anybody, bro. That day, I'm sorry, but that's dead and gone, and it's got to stay away forever. Because what you're saying, I'm going to turn off my brain and never use human judgment. That's what I'm going to do. That's what you're saying. I don't care about human judgment. I don't care about morality. I don't care about how beyond the pale some of these people are, right? It's whatever, bro. We just talk, bro. So, it's disgusting. If you go watch it, I recommend you keep a puke bucket nearby you, because you're going to need it. Because it was a humiliation fest. By the way, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think when they interviewed Trump, they didn't wear a suit and tie. When they interviewed Netanyahu, they were wearing a suit and tie. I think that says it all. So, fuck these guys. Fuck the whole new media world. Fuck the whole bro podcast sphere. I'm just so sick of them. I'm so sick of them. Now they're running cover for Netanyahu, just like, you know, Tim Dillon and Rogan and all these assholes. They might mildly criticize Trump, but ultimately they always end up running cover for Trump too. They're in over their head. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they think they're special and they're God's gift to this earth, when really they're vapid, immoral, clout-chasing freaks.